in the last stream, we were working on crafting our first set of armor for the playthrough, and we went with the rather powerful Supremium armor, and right at the end of the last episode, we actually upgraded our Supremium leggings with a speed module. Now, right now, I don't have that speed module installed because between streams, what I've been doing is a little bit more in the way of inferium farming, because what I want to do right at the start of today's stream is I want to take all of this insanium that we've just gathered between streams, and I want to use that to craft up an insanium sword. This should be a very powerful sword that is also upgradable, as we saw at the end of the last episode, with strength augments to make it even more powerful than it is on the baseline. And the reason my pants are off here is because the speed boost you get from the Supremium leggings doesn't actually make the crops grow faster, but if I put these back on, it does make it substantially more difficult for me to actually harvest this stuff while running, and it makes it substantially worse to try and watch on Twitch. So I'm going to go ahead and dump the rest of this inferium essence into the crafter here. That hopefully will get us maybe 1 or 2 more insanium essence, but I think the 16 that we've managed to get here should be enough to craft up the insanium sword and also get a few of these strength augments to increase the strength of the sword. Now, right now, we don't have a solar panel here, and that is because right before the start of the episode, the Twitch chat was telling me that these solar panels that we've been crafting do actually connect. And so if you put 2 of them down like this, they do connect into one solar panel. And right now you'll notice they do have different amounts of power in them. But I believe the idea here is that the power kind of evens out over time. And so eventually they'll have the same amount in, and power can move from one solar panel through the other solar panel into the crafter. And so that is something we could have done in a previous stream. Instead of making this tier 6 solar panel, we could have just put down a few of the lower tier ones, just something to bear in mind for the future. But let us go ahead and see if we can't get this insanium sword. For that, once again, we're going to have to get a couple of prosperity gemstones. We're going to need quite a few of them because, unfortunately, much like in the last episode, you have to go through and make the Supremium sword and the Imperium sword and the Tertium sword and the Prudentium sword and the Inferium sword and, of course, the Diamond sword in order to make the Insanium sword. And so we're going to need 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of each of the prosperity gemstones and the prosperity ingots, and then we just have to craft those into their respective tier of essence and then into their respective tier of sword, and keep doing that all the way up until we have the Insanium sword. All right, so 2 Insanium, and boom, we should be good to go on an Insanium sword. Nice. This is hopefully very powerful in and of itself, but we can take it further. If we look at the 3 tiers of strength augment, strength 1, strength 2, and strength 3, and strength 4 actually, never mind, 4 tiers of strength augment, they don't seem particularly difficult to make. The first tier here, which is tier 1, is just 4 tertium with an unattuned augment in the middle, 2 iron swords, and 2 blocks of quartz. That seems very straightforward. Iron swords, of course, we can make very easily. Tertium we probably have in the system. We do indeed. We'll take 4 over that. And then quartz we should have. We do indeed. If we didn't, we could, of course, just go ahead and EMC some more. And so that is everything we need, apart from, yet again, another unattuned augment for the center to get the strength 1 augment. Now, upgrading this to tier 2, much like in the last episode with the speed augment, just involves taking the first tier of augment and then crafting that with kind of the same stuff again, but just an increased tier of essence. And then the same is true again for the tier after that. We just go from Imperium up to Supremium, and then if we want, we can go all the way from Supremium up to Insanium. I don't know whether or not we'll do that. It really depends on if we have enough essence to make that happen. We do have 8 Insanium on us, but we are going to have to craft some of that down into Supremium, but I think we actually, chat, might have what it takes to do this. Of course, we do have to craft diamond swords for the 2 higher tier essences here, but again, making 4 diamond swords is not going to be a problem. Getting a bunch more blocks of quartz, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and I think that is basically everything. And so let's quickly check for the other essence. We don't have any Imperium. That's fine. We can go ahead and just craft one of our supremium down. Let's replace our strength 1 augment in the center, this time with 4 inferium, 2 iron swords, and 2 blocks of quartz. We can then leave that on the pedestal. We can do the same again, 2 more quartz, this time with 4 supremium. 1, 2, 3, and 4, trying our hardest not to run too fast as to walk past the pedestals here. There we go. Not quite sure what happened now. I had to take the augment off and put it back on, otherwise it didn't seem to work. That's fine. And then we do have enough insanium. So 1, 2, 3, 4, with again 2 quartz and 2 diamond swords. And that should get us the highest tier of strength augment that we can possibly put onto this insanium sword. Now, the insanium weapons and armors do actually have 2 slots. I don't know if you can put 2 strength 6 augments into here. I don't know if you can put 2 of the same augment in, but we could if we wanted to put in a strength augment alongside something like an AoE augment, but I don't think that is going to be strictly necessary, at least not just yet, because what we're going to do with this sword is, of course, head through to the Twilight Forest and try and defeat the Lich King so that we can get the Lich Trophy and craft the Philosopher's Stone. Now, to do that, we, of course, first need to get a Twilight Forest portal. I don't know if there's a quest for it. There totally is right here. And the way that we get to the Twilight Forest, if I'm not mistaken, is we get 2 buckets of water and we place those down on the ground. We then have to surround that with, I think, dirt and usually flowers. So we might have to get some bone meal and try and get some poppies. I think saplings actually might also work though. So if I take these and find a place to put this, which is going to be easier said than done, I might actually put it at the back here. So if we do something like this, we have a 2x2 gap. We're going to fill that 2x2 gap with water. This would definitely have been easier if I had 2 buckets of water, but what we can do, by the way, is just right-click the increase accumulator to get water instead of right-clicking and taking up our unlimited water source. But if we take our second bucket and we put that right about here, that makes an unlimited source of water. We then want to surround that with any kind of plant matter, really. So poppies, dandelions, saplings. We might have to do it in such a way that we don't actually grow them into trees. And then if it has not been tweaked, usually all you have to do is drop a diamond into the unlimited water source. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick all of this up. I'm going to put down the saplings again, like this. I'm going to not move, and then I'm going to throw the diamond. And I think that totally worked. Nice. So, again, if you had used like mushrooms or grass or poppies, you wouldn't have had to stand still because you weren't at risk of the saplings growing. But I think what we can do now is we can head back. And I have seen this be an issue. I'm not quite sure why, but for whatever reason, when you come back, it puts you in a different Twilight Forest portal that's a little bit away from your base. Not entirely certain why. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these saplings here, just so that we don't end up with a bunch of trees blocking our entranceway to the Twilight Forest in the future. But now that we have a portal to the Twilight Forest, I think the next thing that we want to get is a magic map. This is fairly easy to make. It is 8 paper and 1 magic map focus. This is made with glowstone, a raven's feather, and torchberries. So ravens are native to the Twilight Forest, and so if we fly around for a little bit, I'm confident we will see at least 1 raven. They're just small black birds, and if we kill one, we should have a fairly decent chance of getting a raven's feather. And then the other item we need, the torchberries, are usually found underground. A good chance to try out our sword here. Instantly kills that skeleton, which is a good first sign. But we can usually go down. Here they are. These guys right here are the torchberries. Again, thankfully, super easy to find, and we only need 1 of them, and you can see they are quite abundant, as apparently is prosperity ore here in this dimension as well, which is somewhat nifty if you're struggling to find it in the mining dimension. And so real quick, let's see if we can't find 1 raven. And then actually this here is the Naga fight, which is the first fight of the Twilight Forest. And so I am fairly confident that our supremium armor here is, going to be more than good enough to defeat this boss with a relative amount of ease. That really did not take too long whatsoever. From there, the next fight actually is the Lich King. I was under the impression that it was the 3rd fight, but after looking it up, apparently it is actually just the 2nd fight. And so we just need to now find the Lich King. The whole point of the map focus, by the way, and the blank magic map, is that when you open that map, it shows you where all of the boss fights are located. And so we happen to stumble across the Naga here. If we hadn't have stumbled across the Naga, the map would have helped us find it. And so I am still going to try and find this Raven, and then we'll try and make that magic map and see if we can't find the Lich's castle fairly easily. This is what the Ravens look like, and again, they should be a fairly quick instant kill. Twitch chat told me that they tend to spawn near these obsidian pillars with the lapis on top, so if you see one of those somewhat nearby, then you can maybe safely assume there might be some ravens around as well. But now that we have that, we can do a quick /home to take us back, and if we go ahead and quickly grab our very tall sugarcane here, I kind of want to leave the super tall sugarcane going and see how far it goes, so we'll grab everything that isn't the super tall sugarcane, and we'll use that along with, I believe, the sugarcane that we have in our system here to craft some paper. Once we have at least 8, we can then go ahead and craft up the magic map focus, and then from there we can craft up our first magic map. And now, if we head on back through to the Twilight Forest and we open the map, just right click and look down, we can see all of these little heads. And so if I turn this way, the little snake head that is right in front of my player character, this is the Naga. So as I fly this way, you'll see that this lines up perfectly with the Naga fight. I'm pretty sure that these two guys wearing crowns are both Lich King fights. And so if we were to head in this direction, this is difficult. Let me get out of here real quick. So we can't go through, I mean, we can go through it, but it's just a little awkward. The Dark Forest, which I think is what we were trying to fly through there, is a little awkward. So I'm going to try and fly to this guy instead. We should see a castle. Here it is, any second now. Now, if you don't have creative flight, I believe you normally have to start at the bottom of this tower and work your way in. However, if you do happen to have creative flight, as we do, you should be able to just head all the way up to the top of the structure, and then it's just a case of finding the room that he's in, which is usually fairly obvious. I'm pretty sure it's going to be this room right here. So if we break this, and before I go in, I'm going to type /home, and I'm going to dump some of the stuff out of my inventory just to make it a little easier for us to pick up any drops that come through. And I'm also going to make sure that we have a decent amount of food on us as well. We do have 3 stacks of bread. I think that's going to be fine. And so if we do /back, and if we break into here, the Lich King should spawn. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the way this works is we have to hit his projectiles back at him, and in doing so, we will break his shields. If we just try and hit him, nothing's going to happen. We also have to hit them, I think, at the right one. I'm not entirely certain which one the right one is. Also, let's make sure we don't die here, which should be fairly straightforward to do. As we move up, we should regenerate health just from the bread being fed to us. Okay, so I have somewhat cowardly escaped the fight here. What I am going to do is I'm going to quickly craft up maybe like a supremium apple. When you eat this, you get 3 minutes of strength, regeneration, resistance. We don't need the speed, and we also get absorption. We could also make an insanium apple maybe. How much insanium do we have left? Only the 3. The only difference really, I think, is just you get haste as well. So you know what? Let's craft a golden apple. Let's craft some supremium down from our insanium. And you know what? I'm going to craft 2 of these just to be safe. So I'll take 2 supremium apples with me, just on the off chance that we use the first one, and that's, not enough. I'm going to take my pants off. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go /home. I'm going to go take the speed augment off the pants, because the combination of the speed on the pants plus the speed that we get from the apple, I think, is going to be just way too much speed. So temporarily, I'm going to take that speed augment off here, and then we'll do a quick /back. And now, if we eat this apple and go back into the fight, I'm being told the way that we defeat this fight is we shoot the ender pearls, or we hit the ender pearls, I should say, back at the guy who fired them. So we want to avoid the fire shots. Come on, shoot me. There we go. We gotta try and hit the ender pearls back at him and not get hit by the fire shots in the meantime. So the fire ones are the ones to avoid. They explode on contact. There we go. So that was maybe 1. Again, avoid the fire. Avoid the fire. Try and hit the ender pearls back somewhat directly. I'm so bad at this, chat. Do I have to hit the guy with the crown? That makes sense. I mean, they've all got crowns, but there we go. Okay, that was a good hit. You hit the ender pearls back at this guy, this jabroni right here. Trying not to get hit in the process. Hello, my friend. I would love for you to fire an ender pearl at me. There we go. He's down to 1 shield left. I think if we can get one more hit on him here, then we should be able to finish him with our sword. That didn't work, unfortunately. And I think we can kill these magic books when they come around. I have been given some slowness. Oh, he has lost his shield. Not quite sure how, but I'm pretty sure that a few more hits here, and it's kind of hard to see because we've got all the buffs at the top of our screen from the apple, but he's dead. Look at that. It is just that easy, and with that, we do now have the Lich Trophy. And so if we, once again, do a quick /home, we should now have almost everything we need to craft the Philosopher's Stone. The only things we're missing are a little bit more Insanium. We do have some Supremium that we can, of course, recraft here. What do we have in terms of Essence? We've got 1 Insanium, and we've got a little bit of Tertium. That's fine. Let me put this and this back in here. So we are going to have to do a bit more farming to get the remainder of that Insanium. That shouldn't be a problem. And of course, we are going to need some more Nether Stars. Between streams, our botany pot here has been somewhat slowly but surely chugging away, making us Nether Stars. But as I mentioned before, you need 9 Nether Star Essence to make 1 Nether Star Shard, and it takes 3 Nether Star Shards to make 1 Nether Star. One thing we could do here, of course, is we could take some bone meal, and we could accelerate the speed at which these grow to try and get a bunch of this essence fairly quickly. But once again, much like in the last episode, I think it's probably just going to be quicker and easier for us to grab some Wither Skeleton Skulls, which we should still be getting. We've got 48 of them now because our Witch Water is still down, along with some more Soul Sand that we can just EMC. And because our Mob Grinder is still up there and still working, we should just be able to use that as a way to get 4 more Nether Stars fairly quickly. Okay, so I've been told by the Twitch chat that we can actually plant the Nether Star Essence here because it does actually grow on the Insanium. It's not supposed to, and I think if we were to leave it, it wouldn't grow. But because we have the mod installed that lets us sprint to accelerate the growth, that does actually seem to have an effect on making it grow. Whether or not this is faster than utilizing the bone meal is questionable, I guess. Like, we could, of course, still, as we saw earlier, just plant this down, grab some bone meal. We've got a ton of bones in our system, and just use that to accelerate the growth very quickly. It might be a tiny bit faster to do the running method, but I still think even with that in mind, it's still probably in our best interest to just go ahead and grow the withers organically, because it took quite a while there to get 1 single Nether Star, whereas as we saw previously, if we just go ahead and put 3 withers down all at once here, I'm hopeful this time, if we do it correctly, we won't have one of them escape. So let's just do... This guy's a bit close to the edge, you know? He might explode out into the wilderness. I think if I put these guys down, I think I can build another one, whoops, before the first one explodes. I totally can, and hopefully... Oh, don't get pushed too much. Oh, this way. I should have pushed him. I should have nudged him. He might just be inside of the radius. He's not. Okay, that's unfortunate, and we are going to lose our cows. But as we saw previously... You know what? I think we can just... We've got our Magnet upgrade. He is a bit faster than we are, which is unfortunate. But our sword is good enough, and he is weak enough to where we can just kill him the old-fashioned way. And I was really... Oh, I think we lost it. I was really hopeful that my Magnet upgrade would just pick up the Nether Stars that we need. Unfortunately, it didn't, but that is fine. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3. We can just do this, and that's fine. We'll get our 4th Nether Star, at which point we actually have everything that we need to get the Philosopher's Stone. Nice. Okay, so let's take these 4 Nether Stars, and let's see here. Do we now have everything that we need? I think the answer is yes. We'll take the Insanium, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and boom, we have the Philosopher's Stone. The first thing that we're going to do with this is craft up the transmutation table, this guy right here. Thankfully, the Philosopher's Stone doesn't get used in this recipe. It's just the Philosopher's Stone with 4 obsidian and 4 stone. The Philosopher's Stone, thankfully, is reusable there. The transmutation tablet is also actually not too difficult. It does require 4 dark matter blocks. And so what we'll do temporarily is we'll place down the transmutation table. We'll put it down maybe here. The benefit of this over the energy condenser is that what we can do is we can kind of get rid of the energy condenser now, because in here, if we put something like iron into the burn slot, that iron is now taught to the table, and you'll see both in the top left of the screen and in the table here that we have stored 13,000 EMC within our EMC network. And so now if we ever want iron, we can just come and take it out of here, and it's going to take the EMC out of our network, as opposed to us having to find an item to transmute right then and there. And the more stuff we put in here, you know, if we put in some inferium seeds, some rotten flesh, gunpowder, coal, whatever it is, we can start loading all of our stuff into this table. And whenever it is that we want something that has an EMC value, instead of having to find it inside of our system, like say we want more soul sand, instead of having to search for soul sand, put it in here, realize we don't have enough EMC, and then go and find something with a high enough EMC value to get us enough soul sand, we can instead just place it in here. We can come in, type in soul sand, and so long as we have enough EMC stored already, we can just take that soul sand directly out, shift click to take a full stack, and it just makes our lives a whole heck of a lot easier. And even better than that, we can upgrade this fairly easily to the transmutation tablet, which is the exact same as the table, but we can carry it around with us wherever we are in the world, allowing us to do these transmutes basically anywhere in the base. As we saw, the only thing we need here is some dark matter. Dark matter we couldn't make up until now because it requires the Philosopher's Stone, but all we need to do to make dark matter is craft 1 block of diamonds with 8 Aeternalis fuel. Aeternalis fuel is made from Mobius fuel. Mobius fuel is made from alchemical coal, and alchemical coal is made with the Philosopher's Stone. And for coal, once we have one of those, we can put it in the table, and then we can take 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not quite sure why, but the options to sort this inventory are in here, which are kind of awkward, because it means if you try and click this and take it out, it sometimes just clicks the button, which is not what I want to do. And so you have to click in just the right spot to actually get the coal, which is unfortunate. But now that we have 4 alchemical coal, we can craft that into 1 Mobius fuel, drop that in here as well. And then if we again take 4 Mobius fuel, we can craft that again with the Philosopher's Stone. Doesn't matter where you put this, by the way, to get the Aeternalis fuel. And if we teach the Aeternalis fuel, we can then take, I think it's 8 Aeternalis fuel to craft around our diamond block. Of course, we don't have enough to make that happen, enough EMC that is, to make that happen. And this might be a bit of a running theme here, because the dark matter blocks that we need do have an EMC value here of 557,000. And if we want to get 4 of those, that means that we need 2 million EMC. And that's quite a lot of diamonds. Like, we could do it. We could spend a few minutes harvesting the diamond essence here and then dropping the diamonds into the transmutation table to get 2 million EMC. But I think that's probably not the way we want to do it. And I think this is almost certainly where we want to start looking at automating the production of some of these resources, so we don't have to keep manually harvesting the essence and crafting it ourselves. That is where the power pots come back into play. I've mentioned these a few times. These are basically the same as these hopping botany pots here, but they require power and they work much faster. So in order to make the tier 1 version of this, which is just called the Power Pot Mark 1, we need 1 hopping botany pot along with 6 compressed iron blocks and 2 compressed redstone blocks. So that is quite a lot of iron. That shouldn't be a problem. We do have a little bit of iron in the system, and by a little bit I mean 7, which is definitely not enough to do what we want to do here. But if we get some more iron, we can get ourselves a block of iron. We can drop that in the table, grab a bunch of blocks of iron, and then from there getting 6 blocks of compressed iron is not going to be too difficult. And then we'll put the rest back in here for now. We then do have a little bit of redstone. We'll do the same thing here, though. We'll take 1 redstone, drop it in, get a ton of redstone, and then craft up the 2 compressed redstone blocks, at which point the only thing we're missing is the hopping botany pot itself. And so I think what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and we'll take this out. I think if you shift right click, you get the seed, and then we'll just go ahead and break this to get the Supremium farmland back. But this does have an EMC value, and so if we drop this in here, we can then go and grab as many of those as we like. We can then replace down the Nether Star one, although I don't really think it's even worth replacing, because we can actually use our first power pot here for Nether Star seeds. And again, thankfully the power pots do also have an EMC value. So I'll put that in, and then we can take a second one out just as soon as we get up to 136,000 EMC. But the idea here is that we can place this down, let's say, again, right about here for now, and we can place the farmland in it, like so. And I'm not going to put the nether star seed in just yet because the nether stars don't generate any EMC. There are higher tier seeds that we can use. And in fact, do we have emerald seeds? I think we did make emerald seeds, didn't we? We did. And compared to diamonds, emeralds do have a higher EMC value. They have double the EMC value. And so if we put the emerald seed into here, and then if we go and grab one of our solar panels, let's go with the tier 4 solar panel maybe. This only generates 512 FE per tick. I'm not entirely certain on what the power usage of this is. We'll find out though, because if I put this next to it, it looks like that is growing. So by default, this first power pot here isn't actually much faster than the botany pot that it's replaced. You'll see it's still going to take about 2 minutes to generate one full growth cycle. But unlike with the hopping botany pot, where one full growth cycle gets us 1 essence, we should get more essence from this power pot, I'm fairly certain. So we'll see any second now, about 10 seconds from now, when this harvests, how much emerald essence we get, and then from there we can look at expanding this out, making even more of these, and using them to get a lot of emeralds. So we get 16 emerald essence at a time. And so it does take 1 minute 45, but that essentially gets us almost 2 emeralds worth every 1 minute 45. And then that in total is 32,000 EMC. And so we're generating, around 16,000 EMC a minute with this current setup, but we can take this further. People have pointed out that the netherite seeds are probably a better way to go because they require fewer essence. So for emerald essence, you need 9 emerald essence to make 1 emerald, whereas with the netherite seeds here, you just need 8 netherite essence to make 1 netherite. And unlike the emeralds that have an EMC value of 60,000, netherite here has an EMC value of 50,000. And so it's just a straight upgrade all around. For that, we do need to get some netherite seeds. We also do need to sleep. I think I successfully changed the settings on the server to where I can now sleep on my own without anybody else on the server having to sleep as well. We totally did. Fantastic. Anyway, to get the netherite seed, we do need 4 netherite ingots, which means we need to get quite a few netherite scrap. And it looks like the way we get netherite scrap is via the sifting of crushed netherrack or compressed crushed netherrack, which annoyingly neither of those have an EMC value. Regular netherrack does, which is somewhat helpful. If I'm not mistaken, the way that we get netherrack is we take the bucket here. If we get a bucket of lava, which once again we can acquire from the mining dimension, let's just steal one of those. Back over here, we are going to need a different barrel because if you try and put lava into a wooden barrel, the barrel is going to burn, which is not what we want. But if we get a stone barrel, we can place that down like so. We can do something like this. And then if we take 1 redstone dust, we can right click that onto the barrel and that should get us netherrack. It totally does, at which point obviously we have an unlimited amount of netherrack at our disposal. And so now it's just a case of hammering that down using this diamond hammer here, crafting it into compressed crushed netherrack. Again, it's going to be easier if we use our diamond wand for this. So let's go and do something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll then do 1, 2, and I was going to try we'll go one higher, but this is probably fine. We'll just build this back as far as we can. And then from there, we can just harvest all of this, craft it down into compressed crushed netherrack, and then sift it. Chat is right in that we obviously only need 1 of the netherite scrap, because of course, as soon as we have 1, we then have the ability to EMC it. And so let's quickly see if we don't get what we want here. I think the diamond mesh is good enough. It is indeed. The odds, I don't think, are crazy high. It's a really low chance, actually. It's a 0.8% chance plus a 0.4% chance. So 2 very low chances. I'm hopeful that we do get at least 1 within the first 12 compressed crushed netherrack we have here. But even if we don't, we can get more of this fairly easily, so it's not going to be too big of an issue. All right, we got 1 netherite scrap. It did take us, I guess, almost 30 of this compressed crushed netherrack to get it, but now that we have it, we can drop it in here. We can craft up a bunch of it, and by a bunch, I mean, of course, 5. We can, of course, keep taking emerald essence out of here and crafting that down. Again, not the fastest in the world, but it is fully automated, and so if we can scale it to the point where we have a lot of these power pots down, all generating essence, so we can have all of that essence pumping into our EMC network directly, we can just start passively generating EMC, which is going to be ideal, I think. Do we have any gold? We do indeed. Let's go and craft 1, 2, 3, and 4 netherite. Netherite, I believe, was a supremium seed. Netherite seed. It is indeed. We currently do not have any supremium in there, but we have 2 in here. That is not enough. That's fine. Let's quickly do a little bit more essence farming, and let's see if we can't get 4 supremium to craft this netherite seed with, of course, the final prosperity seed base. We can make more of these, of course, but this is currently the last one that we have. There we go. There is 1 insanium, which, of course, is for supremium. Let's go and do our favorite little bit of seed crafting. We'll get the 4 supremium down and that prosperity seed base. Good stuff, good stuff. The Twitch chat is asking if the fertilized essence can be used on the power pot. I haven't tried it. I'd be interested to see how it works. The bone meal works on the regular power pot, and so it's quite possible bone meal might work on this as well. It doesn't, unfortunately. That's a shame. We could try the fertilized essence. We do have a lot of it. The fertilized essence here can be used to make mystical fertilizer. Again, does require diamonds, which is fine. We can get diamonds, right? And we can give that a go, see if that actually works. Yeah, that also doesn't work, unfortunately, which kind of makes sense. That's fine. Let's go ahead and shift right-click to pop out that emerald seed, right-click to pop in the netherite seed. The netherite is actually faster as well. You'll see in the top left there, the growth time is about 45 seconds for netherite versus 1 minute 45 for emerald. That's very interesting, which means we should get, I think, 16 netherite every 45 seconds as opposed to 16 emeralds every 1 minute 45. And unlike with emerald, the 16 netherite can be crafted into 2 netherite ingots, and so that's 100,000 EMC every 45 seconds, which is substantially more than the 16,000 per minute that we were making just a moment ago. And so this is definitely a pretty big upgrade. And so really now, I guess it's a case of getting more of these. Getting more of these is going to require just a bunch of EMC because they are, like, I think over 100,000 EMC per power pot. There are higher tier power pots. The higher tier power pots get you even more essence per craft. So this one gets you 16 essence per full growth cycle, whereas the next tier, I believe, gets you 32, and then 48 for tier 3, and then 64 for tier 4. So you get a stack of essence every time with the highest tier of power pot. So that would be ideal. The only trouble is that they're just very expensive. The tier 2 power pot here requires 9 million EMC in total. It needs 6 double compressed blocks of gold, which is just a ton of gold ingots. And so I think what we're probably going to want to do is maybe take this out of here, shift right click, and if we do a bit of manual growing of this on the farmland here to try and get more seeds. Right now we do have a secondary chance of 10%. We'll try and get more seeds. I think I'll replace basically all of these here with netherite seeds. We'll try and get a big EMC boost. If we can get a big EMC boost here, we can then take that EMC, use it to craft more power pots, and if we can get a good like array of power pots down, we can then use those to kind of automate a large influx of EMC going forward. All right, so I've already done 1 deposit. We're up at 2.41 million. I have just done even more here. We've got all netherite down now, and so if I dump all of this into our system and we craft it all into netherite ingots, that is a healthy 9.68 million EMC, which, as it turns out, is enough to get the next tier of power pot. The thing is, though, that I don't actually think the next tier of power pot is worth it currently. The next tier of power pot will save us on space, but it doesn't actually warrant the increase in cost because I don't think it's actually faster. I think it's still going to take 45 seconds for a single netherite seed to grow and get us netherite essence. Obviously, we get twice as much essence, but it's not twice the cost. It's more than 10 times the cost, right? So I think what is going to be better for us is just getting a ton of these tier 1 power pots. We can make loads of them, placing those down potentially on a new platform, and then hooking all of those up with power and having all of those pump into a centralized location for essence, and then pulling all the essence from there, and potentially even getting another crafter to auto-craft that into netherite. All right, so with the help of the copy-paste gadget, I've extended out the base in the opposite direction to how we've been extending it up until now, and my thought process here is to kind of take this power pot and just put it down over here. I do have a question. I'm wondering if I move this solar panel, It seems that this solar panel is keeping up. This one is 512 FE. I do wonder if the tier below that is also able to keep up. I didn't teach my system how to make the tier 4 solar panel. Can my system make me a tier 4 solar panel? It can't. That's unfortunate. These are quite expensive, 100,000 EMC. They're not crazy expensive. We do have a tier 4 solar panel here. And so if I do this, is the tier 4 solar panel good enough to keep up? So right now, this has got no power in it. If I put that down, I also want to know if I can do this. Not that. I want to know if I can put it on top of the power pot and have that still work. Like that. I totally can. And it looks like that is producing like a tiny bit more. No, maybe not actually. The power kind of goes up to a point and then it dips right down as it uses it. So that, unfortunately, is not good enough. And so if we want to use solar panels, we are going to have to use the tier 5 solar panels, which does make it a bit more expensive. Again, we can get more EMC fairly quickly, but I'm kind of thinking of just doing an 8x8 grid of these power pots here. I am going to raise them up by one because we do want to be able to extract from them. And by extract from them, I don't think they have their own internal buffer, so we are going to have them pump into an inventory. That is fine. Yeah, that's not going to be a problem for us. And so we'll have them all go down potentially into some kind of barrel, or we could put down a bunch of chests. Anything like that would work. I do wonder, actually. I don't think it would work, but it'd be interesting if we had it on top of like a colossal chest, if it just pumped down into the colossal chest. I really don't think that is how that works, but... and also, we could do it putting elevators up on the top there, because I keep jumping, thinking that I can get up there when I 100% cannot. If I put a power pot here, and I try and put seeds in there, I am fairly certain that isn't going to work. But if it does work, that would be kind of cool to just embed a giant colossal chest into the ground over there and have all of the botany pots above it. Okay, so I've taken all of the netherite essence out of our system, and so there shouldn't be any netherite essence in there. People are saying we might need an interface for it to work, but we'll find out in just a second here. This is almost done. There we go. And then the question is there any netherite essence in here? There isn't. Okay, but if we break this block here and replace it with an interface like that, now when this gets to 100%, it might be able to deposit it into the interface. The interface kind of works like the colossal core does at the bottom here, but unlike the core, you can only have one core in one colossal chest. You can have as many interfaces as you like, and so it might just be a case of building a big old colossal chest embedded in the floor and making sure that the roof of that colossal chest is made entirely of interfaces. We'll find out if that works. We're about to see if we actually get any netherite essence. There is 32 there, which is interesting. Although I wonder if the pot itself actually stored the first batch. That totally works. Look at that. We got 16. Nice. So I do think they have an internal inventory. I think the pot itself stored the first two, and then as soon as I put the colossal interface down, it then pumped them into the chest. And so that is very interesting. It does mean that we can put these kind of just directly onto the floor. So we'll just move these down one like this. We'll have them all down on the floor, and we'll build a colossal chest under that. The roof of that colossal chest is going to be made entirely of interfaces, and then we'll drop a ton of solar panels on top of all this, and that should be a way of generating a very large amount of netherite. From there, we can then look at getting ourselves a crafter, another crafter, I guess, like this one here, and we can use that crafter to auto-craft the netherite essence into netherite ingots, and then we can look at pumping those netherite ingots into our system. Right now, we are going to have to do that manually by just taking them and putting them in the transmutation tablet, but that is where the EMC links come into play. We can use these. We could also use, of course, our energy condenser as a way to start transmuting the netherite automatically into EMC that we can use in the future. And so I think we'll start on that next time. What I'm going to do between streams is probably just harvest a little bit more in the way of EMC here, because we are going to need a few more million EMC, I think, to get all of the tier 5 solar panels that we need. The tier 4 ones here are not good enough, and the tier 5 ones have like 100,000 EMC value per solar panel. So we basically need the same amount of EMC that it costs to get these power pots again to get all of the solar panels down. We'll drop all the solar panels down, we'll build the colossal chest, and at that point, EMC should not be a problem for us. And once EMC isn't a problem for us, we can probably start focusing our attention towards some of the late game, because I think once we have EMC somewhat taken care of. This isn't going to be a crazy powerful setup, but it is going to be pretty powerful. Like, we could make a much more powerful setup if we wanted to. But I think at that point, we can start pivoting and looking at what mods are required for us to start crafting some of this late game content. Stuff like Botania is something we've not gotten into just yet, but it is something we are going to have to work through a little bit if we want to complete these end game quest lines, which is the end goal of the pack. But unfortunately, those are all problems for future Isaac, because for now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Mystical Block there.